Hey guys, today what we're playing with, it's only -1 out here today, so it's relatively balmy. With the CLK, the W208, 300 and almost 20,000 kilometers on it. I did the center link, which is the center steering link, and in that link, on the other side of the suspension, the steering link, the steering box is on the driver's side, and on the passenger side there's an idler arm, which basically follows the path of the steering box to transmit the steering inputs to the passenger side wheel. Otherwise it would just flop around all the time. And there's a bearing in there, which is like this. It's a bushing, sorry, not a bearing, it's a bushing. And these are between $9 and $30 depending on where you go. They're almost all basically the same thing, but like I said, depending on where you go, between 9 and 30 bucks. Pretty simple to replace. It's just a bushing that you replace inside the arm. When it gets worn out, it kind of wobbles back and forth, and you'll get wheel wobble at high speeds, usually over 100, 120 kilometers an hour. You're not going to feel it at 70 or 80 unless it's like completely gone. Mine's a little sloppy, and I'll show you where it is. I'm on the passenger side of the car, front passenger side, and the car's jacked up. And right underneath here, you can follow. Hold on a second. I'm going to get under there and show you a little bit better. Hold on a second. Okay, so now we're under the car on the passenger side. Sorry for shaky video. Nowhere to set up a tripod under here. I've removed the steering linkage nut to the ball joint on these. Excuse me. Ball joint linkage on to the idler arm, and when that's loosened, you can really hear how loose the idler arm is. Not just, I mean, it's rattling back and forth against the ball joint on the link on here on the steering arm, but it's also loose as hell. Now, there are two things you want to do before you start this. There's an 8mm bolt right in front of my glove there. You can see it right there. I've got it loosened. It's kind of bent to the side. It's an 8mm bolt. It holds on the heat shield. You have to remove that, and then I got it loosened, so I'll also just pull this off for you to see. I'm going to try and set this camera up so you can see better. And this isn't all shaky, but it's I've got 2 feet of room under the car here, so there's not much space. And then you're going to be able to push the heat shield up out of the way. And this bolt here is what you want. You're going to, this bolt is what you're going to be removing here with the long bolt sticking out. This nut with the bolt sticking out of it, that goes straight through the bushing, and then this whole arm will pop out. And there's an adjuster, a pinch bolt on there. But anyway, that 8mm is off, and then there's 2 16mm, this one and the one on the back of the heat shield up here under the heat shield. And the bolt will simply pop off that way. And once we get that off, I'll show you. So, I mean, it's just kind of impossible for me to show you that under here, but it's removing 2 bolts. 16mm here, and the top nut is a 16mm, the top of the bolt is 16mm, and this nut is 16. Or if you don't have a 16mm, it's a 5/8 in SAE. Anyway, back in a second. Okay, we're back under, and the 16mm nut is loosened. So I'm just going to pull that off. And the top bolt, this is the factory one. I forgot this is a 10mm. It's like a 10mm reverse reverse Torx. But you can just use a 10mm socket on it. I'll show you when I pull it out. It's got the 10mm reverse Torx head on it. But you can use a 10mm on there to hold it, because you're just pulling this bolt out. And now we're simply going to slide the bushing out and be back in a minute. We'll go over the sucker. You can see it here. Remember which way it goes. It dog legs down. It's kind of hard to put it in backwards because it would be hitting your engine. But anyway, just so you remember, back in a second. Okay, so we've got the idler arm out, and before you do anything, before you undo this pinch bolt and take this off, you want to measure this distance here. You can use anything you want to measure it. I mean, I'm using a caliper with a dead battery, but I can still read it and leave it in the same position and then just put the new one on. And then I'm simply going to take a 6mm Allen key or hex key and loosen this pinch bolt. Now make note of which way the steering arm curves and which way the larger part is up. That simply pops out. Let's see if we can... I can hear a bit of slop in there. I don't know if you can hear it or not. A tiny little bit. All right, take our new one. Take the bolt out, pop it in the new bushing in. I'm going to start. Actually, I'm going to be back in a second, so I'm going to put some thread locker on this. I have to go find some, so back in a second. Okay, so simply put a dab of blue thread locker. Remember, blue is the stuff that comes off cold. If you use the red stuff, you need heat to take it off. So, remember, blue hot, red cold. Got my torque wrench set up for 30 pounds. I'm just going to tighten this. I'll just tighten it by hand until I get it to the... I want it kind of sticking, semi-pinching in there so I can get it. Bingo. And now I'm just going to tighten it to 30 foot-pounds. Okay. That's it. Now we're just going to reverse, put it in. I'm going to use thread locker on the bottom, on the threads of this bolt too. This bolt goes in at 40 foot-pounds. And yeah, this one's 30, this one's 40. And the control arm, the steering linkage. What is that now? I can't remember. I'm gonna be putting. I'll put it on the bottom of the thing. My battery's running out here, and I just gotta finish this up real quick. So anyway, essentially done. Thread locker on this. 36 to 40 pound-feet of torque on this bolt on the bottom nut. Always torque from the nut, not from the bolt head. Torque the nut. And this one's 30, this one's 40. Good enough. Anyway, I'll be back in a few minutes, hopefully, if I can get some battery left. Okay, got another 30 seconds of camera battery life here. This is good for any Mercedes that has a steering box, which is basically up to the mid-2000s, early to mid-2000s when they started switching to rack and pinion steering. If you've got the old worm and roller steering with a steering box, then this is going to pertain to you. If you're not, you've got a steering rack. They're completely different, and they're not going to have an idler on a steering rack. So any Mercedes up until like the late 90s, early 2000s, this is good for. Early 2000s, I don't think they switched over anything before that. Anyway, yeah, make sure to tighten the 8mm bolt back up on your heat shield, and there's the guide that's out there say that you have to remove the whole heat shield. You do not. Take off this one 8mm bolt on the back of the heat shield. No, it's on the driver's side of the heat shield, and just push the heat shield out of the way. It's not going to hurt a thing. It's out of the way. You bend it back, you push, put the bolt in, you're all done. The other 3 bolts, if you actually really want to take them out, there's one bolt down here underneath these are the 4 oxygen sensor, O2 sensor wire hookups, and there's another bolt up under there, up under here. You can see it right in front of my finger. If you could see my finger, where the hell is it? Right in front of my finger, right there. And yeah, that's the 3. And they're a bitch to get lined up if you really wanted to pull that out and line that up again, but just pull out that back one, pop it in, and Bob's your uncle. And I did make another video on it, but if One of the reasons you're doing this is for steering wheel shake. Clean your wheels. It's winter time. Clean the inside of your rims. I just cleaned them, and the pile of dirt that came off, probably about 1 ounce or 2 ounces of dirt off of, easily 2 ounces of dirt off of each wheel rim. That can cause steering wheel shake. This isn't what was causing mine. I knew this was, it was done, the bushing was done in. Anyway, we're out of battery again. Thanks for watching. Any questions? Yeah, this will not preclude you from getting an alignment. If you need an alignment, this is not a magic $10 alignment fix. Do you need to do an alignment when this is done? No, most likely not. This should not affect your alignment whatsoever. You're not moving any steering parts. You're not adjusting any tie rods. You're not doing anything like that. This is just going to fix the slot between left and right wheels. Anyway, battery dying. Thanks for watching.